best advice I've ever received on how to be a good embedded consultant within the military I got from a dead Roman general. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think are the key principles and characteristics that make excellent embedded or organic internal consultants. Certainly within the context of the military, but I'm going to make the argument that these same principles extend to other areas of industry. So who was that Roman general? Well, his name was Lucius Paulus Macedonicus, and he was a Roman general during the Third Macedonian War, 2nd century BC. So we're talking almost 2,200 years ago. Naturally, you're thinking, Mark, what does that have to do with me today? Can those lessons or those principles really apply? I'm going to make the argument that they can and that they do. So, what did Lucius Paulus say? Well, he was asked 2,000 years ago, what makes an excellent advisor or consultant to a military commander or leader? And his answer was an individual of known talent, someone who had made the art of war their study, an individual who was present at the scene of action, who saw the enemy, who saw the advantages that occur on the battlefield, and who, like people embarked on the same ship, shared the danger. So we're going to unpack each one of those characteristics and see where they take us. Okay, let's talk a little bit about what it means to be of known talent. Most consultants in the military that are embedded in organizations are first assessed and selected and trained specifically for the nature of their work. They are judged by their competence and their character to be able to do that job. And I'm going to make the argument that the same principles that make good internal consultants or embedded consultants in the military would do the same in organizations in the private sector and in industry. So now, what does it mean to be a student of the art of war? Of course, in the military, it literally means a student of the art of war. How are wars fought and how are they won? What's strategy? What are operations? What are tactics? Also, being a student of the war fighter. What's their training like? Where do they come from? What kind of attributes or characteristics make an excellent operator or whoever you're consulting with from the organization? These same types of principles are at work in commercial industry as well. For example, if I'm consulting to Coca-Cola, but I don't understand the dynamics that exist in the soda industry or the drink industry or the history between Pepsi and Coke, the Pepsi challenge of the 1970s, the new Coke to Coke Classic issues in the 1980s, then I'm not going to be a good consultant to that industry or to that company. What does it mean to be present at the scene of action, to see the enemy, and to see the advantages that occur on the battlefield? Well, in the military, that's quite simple, right? It means deploying. It means putting yourself in a position where you can understand who the enemy is, understand the environment and the terrain and the circumstances that the individuals with whom you consult, or the organization with whom you consult, what they're facing, what they're looking at, what's their experience, right? It's part of studying the warfighter and their experience, but in this instance, it's studying the adversary. It's understanding who your warfighter, who your organization is put up against. In the same way, it would be like studying the competitor. It would be understanding the strategic messages and the influence and outcome of what those opposing organizations or competitors within your industry are also putting up and putting against the organization through which you're consulting. Lastly, what does it mean to be like people embarked on the same ship, sharers of the danger? Well, that's pretty simple, right? When it's in a deployed context, it literally means you're putting yourself out in the same mud, in the same dirt, in the same environment as the individuals with whom you consult, right? Some of that's a very practical sense. You're there based on proximity, availability, accessibility to those individuals with whom you're trying to help and the organizations they represent. But also, it helps you understand the enemy, the opposition, and the nature of the dynamic and environment that those individuals have to operate in on a regular basis. It also provides a sense of ownership, a sense of shared destiny. And that's not lost on your customer, on the clients with whom you work. They see that you are sharing that space, those risks, and that understanding. And that builds habituation, habitual relationship, intimacy, and trust over time. It is ancient wisdom and advice that Lucius Paulus offers. But it is just as true and valuable today as it was over 2,000 years ago. Whether you are a military consultant or consulting to private industry, be of known talent. Be a student of the war and the war fighter and those with whom you work. Be present at the scene of action and wherever decisions are made. See the enemy and understand the opposition. And share the danger. Be present in a manner where you experience a sense of ownership and collective identity, and that danger is seen by others. It's an opportunity to build habitual relationship, intimacy, and trust, all the things necessary to be an outstanding consultant with the individuals that you work inside the military and outside.